Oh, don't fall. Don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. What's going on, guys? Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of a pair of football boots that I have been extremely excited about, and sorry it took so long for me to get them in for review. The brand new New Balance Tekela V2 Pro, the second generation of what I believe to be New Balance's greatest football boot ever. And what's great about the V2 Pro is it maintains everything that was great about the original, but actually makes some solid improvements, which is actually not always the case when a new model comes out. So what we're going to do in this video is go over what's new, what's the same, and what has been improved from the original variation of the Tekela that's actually been one of my go-to boots ever since it came out last summer. So if you want to learn more about these, please stick around and watch the entire review. And if you're interested in a pair for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes. We'll be able to pick these up below their normal $220 retail price in both the regular and wide fit variations. So included with the boots is, of course, a red and white New Balance box, and inside that box, along with the boots themselves, they do include a boot bag that does have some strings at the top to seal up the bag, although you can't exactly wear it as a backpack. It's black in color with gray detailing there for the New Balance branding, and it's pretty much the exact same string bag New Balance has been using for the last couple years. Not incredible, but it's nice that they do include it. It gets a string bag rating of NB out of Z3. As for the boots themselves, the Tekela V2 Pro utilizes pretty much all of the same elements found on the original. However, it takes all of those elements and improves them in such a way where you actually end up with a football boot that has the same touch, feel, and general comfort characteristics of the original that I was such a huge fan of, but it also improves the overall fit, certainly improves the responsiveness, and honestly, I think the package as a whole is just better quality in general. The V2 maintains the Tekela's signature kinetic stitch upper, which is visually very distinctive, but also feels really good. It is essentially a thin layer of microfiber as a base that's super soft and flexible, but on its own would just be a little bit too flimsy, and it's reinforced by way of what they're calling kinetic stitching, which is very clearly seen across the entire upper. Now, the stitching itself is exactly what you think it is. It is actual stitching through the microfiber synthetic that is actually adding a reinforcement to the material. It's adding a little bit of structure, but isn't really taking away from the softness or flexibility. Now, you're probably thinking you're gonna feel all of that stitching on the inside. You don't. They actually put a slightly padded liner underneath the microfiber material, so you don't actually feel any of the stitching at all. All it's there for is for the sake of reinforcement, and it actually does a really, really good job allowing for this microfiber material to still feel super soft and very natural on feet without really having any kind of a hardness to it, which I think is really, really important. I will say, however, that the upper as a whole, especially through the forefoot and toe box area, does feel a little bit more structured than what you're going to find from the original Tekela, although a lot of that has to do with the much deeper lacing system this time around, ultimately making for a boot that is significantly improved in terms of just having a tighter overall wrap around your foot, as well as having a much more responsive feel in general. The finish on the upper has also been changed up a little bit, where there's still a silicone top layer on top of the kinetic stitching itself, although it seems to be a little bit less significant in terms of its stickiness versus the original Tekela, and the actual microfiber synthetic itself seems to have a little bit more of a matte finish. Either way, it's a very, very minor difference between first and second generation. However, the big design choice that they've gone for here is going with the deeper lacing system, which was pretty much the #1 complaint with the first generation, where a lot of people, including myself, felt like maybe the boot was a little bit too sloppy through the forefoot and toe box area due to the shallow lacing system that they implemented. This obviously still maintains a one-piece construction like the first one had, still being filled in with this kind of almost neoprene type material that's actually a little bit stiffer than you might expect it to be in terms of just not being very stretchy, not to where it's actually hard or anything like that. But when you tie the laces tight, and really when you just slide the boots on in general, you can even see by the modified shape, the boot as a whole just has a much slimmer overall feel. They've lowered the volume significantly, and because the lacing system runs a lot deeper through the forefoot now, once you tie the laces tight, your foot is a lot more secure. Moving to the rear, you'll find that the boots do maintain a low-cut construction with an internal plastic heel counter that you can pretty clearly see, if you're familiar with the original, is a little bit slimmer this time around, which I think most people will appreciate. I find that this fits me a little bit more snug and is also very, very comfortable. You'll also find that it does have the extension piece here at the front and back as the original did, the back being a little bit higher this time around. I personally think this looks quite cool, but it is totally unnecessary in the grand scheme of things, like a lot of these collars and extension pieces are. Something that is unique to this particular kind of opening area is this kind of sticky silicone material that you have lining the outer edges, or the inner edges, I should say, of the entire opening. And I think that's there as kind of a lockdown element. I'm not exactly sure that it's providing any realistic lockdown, but it is something that does feel quite good and kind of helps to hold your socks in place around this area of the foot, which I think is quite good. And then as far as the heel liner is concerned, it is pretty much identical to what we had on the previous generation, being made from this kind of soft, almost neoprene type material, maybe a little bit less padding than the original, but they can get away with it given the fact that they have slimmed out the shape ever so slightly. The insole is fully removable and pretty much identical to the first generation, featuring this really soft, high quality mesh liner on top that just feels particularly nice in my opinion, and then it's made from a single layer of this gray ortholite foam that actually has some decent thickness to it. Moving to the sole plate and stud pattern, this has been completely revamped from the first generation, and I think for the better as well. Not that I really had any issues with the first gen one. I actually really like the flexibility of the sole plate, but a lot of people prefer something a little bit firmer, which is exactly what they've given us here, and the stud pattern is arguably a touch more aggressive as well. So the sole plate is now made from a nylon material, and you might actually recognize this design because we got a sneak preview of it with the limited release Rose Lavelle New Balance Tekela that features the first generation upper, but the second generation Tekela sole plate and stud pattern. So some of the pros sponsored by New Balance were actually getting custom variations of the original Tekela with this new stud pattern and sole plate prior to the official release of the actual second generation. And basically it feels similar to the original, just a little bit firmer, a little bit more structured, but still really good natural flexibility, which I think suits this super flexible, soft feeling upper. As far as the stud pattern is concerned, it features what they're calling micro step stud tips. So you look very closely at the tips of the studs, and the outside edge is a little bit higher than the inside edge. So while it's basically a conical stud, the very tip of the stud does have a little bit of a blade on the end. Does it really feel like that when you're actually playing in them? Not really. It kind of feels like a more traditional kind of conical stud layout, very similar to a lot of the boots on offer from the Adidas brand, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. But as a whole, it's not a super fancy stud pattern. It gets the job done. If you're expecting something super aggressive, you might be a little bit disappointed, but for most people, as long as you just want something pretty basic and nice and natural feeling as far as flexibility is concerned, you're not going to be upset with this setup. Which brings us to the weight, another area where New Balance has made some huge improvements over the original Tekela. That was a boot that certainly wasn't heavy, but it definitely could have been a lot lighter, especially in comparison to other top-end options out there. In a size 9.5 US, the Tekela V2 Pro, as you can see, weighs in at 7.15 ounces, the equivalent of 203 grams, which puts it on par now with pretty much most top-end speed boots out there. There are a couple that are a little bit lighter, but for the most part, this is in the top 10% of the lightest top-end models that you can buy right now, and roughly about 2 ounces less than the original Tekela, which again is a huge improvement. So I've swapped out the stock black laces for some black reflective SR4U replacement laces because I want to maintain the blackout look because I like that about this colorway, but I also want to be a little bit cooler than everyone else. So if you are interested in some replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below in the description. So if you're interested in some for yourself, be sure to go ahead and check that out. On feet, the Tekela V2 Pro feels familiar, but at the same time hugely improved over the original. If you wanted something that's a little bit more snug and just a little bit less in terms of overall volume, because those are the two elements about the original that you could definitely complain about. It just felt too wide in general, and it felt like there was way too much volume through the forefoot and toe box area, mainly due to the fact that it just had a very shallow lacing system. So what they've done is they've lengthened the lacing system so it runs a lot deeper, and they've actually decreased the overall volume of the boot and really changed the shape pretty significantly as well, making for a boot that just wraps your foot very, very closely, but at the same time isn't squeezing your foot. So it doesn't necessarily have that kind of speed boot type of fit and feel, but it certainly is a lot more snug and secure than the original, which I think is what a lot of people were looking for. It's still soft, it's still super flexible, there's still nothing to really break in regards to the upper or the sole plate. It has that super natural sensation, which is what I really liked about the original, but again, it just has a better overall feel in pretty much every single way. As far as the overall width is concerned, like I said, they have kind of decreased the volume and tightened the fit, but at the same time, they're definitely going to be wide enough for most people, and this is just the regular width variation. So if you had really wide feet, they do make a wide fit version as well that I'm assuming is a lot wider than these, but as far as the regular version is concerned, I definitely think that these will be suitable for most foot types, and the fit, like I said, is hugely improved. And as far as the sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order a pair for yourself, I'd strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, the Tekela V2 Pro is one of very few second generation models that actually improves upon pretty much every single aspect of the original, something that we rarely ever see. And as much as I recommended and still recommend the original Tekela, it is a boot with a fair amount of flaws in comparison to other options that are out there right now. However, the Tekela V2 Pro is legitimately the first New Balance top-end football boot that I can recommend basically against pretty much anything. It's that good, it's really unique in terms of what it has on offer, and if you were curious about the original but kind of turned off based on the shape and fit of the boot, they've improved that with the new one, and honestly, these are as good as just about anything out there right now. Anyways guys, that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes. We'll be able to pick these up below their normal $220 retail price. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for weekly videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.